work breakdown is like the beginning of everything. So when we talk about work breakdown, we had it in, let me show you the notes in week okay, so if you see that we have you see the notes, I've break it down into week 1, week 2, week 2, week 3. So week 3, we will start off from the work file, which is the work breakdown structures and resources. So we have got the week 3 work breakdown first. Okay, so you need to do work breakdown, and that is the beginning. And then after that, we also talk about resources. And resources is like the next step after, because without all these, without these tools, there's basically nothing. It's just that without sunlight, nothing on this earth can work. You see, so work breakdown is like a sunlight. Your resources is like your water. You have to have all these things for the project to actually get going. You see, so that week, beginning of week 3, end of week 2, beginning of week 3, we have been talking about work breakdown and how to do resources planning and how to create a resources data sheet. So you see, beginning of week, end of week 2, we talk about planning. You can see my screen, right? So we are talking about project planning and resources, and then beginning of week 3, we talk about work breakdown and resources, and we actually went into detail and show you how to do resources data sheets and how to arrange your resources. And then I actually give you some samples about some of my master students who work on resources data sheets and how to arrange their resources into the files and all that. And then there are some resources data sheet formats that I've given you as well. So those are all very clear, I hope, and this is going to be so important when it comes to your IDT later. And this is so important when it comes to managing everything later. Okay, so in this resources data sheet is the core, is a backbone of the whole entire project management with the work breakdown. The work breakdown is the core, it's like a spine. Without it, there's nothing that you can do with it. I mean, it's the brain and the spine, with the rest, other things later on you will be branching out from there. Yeah. So then the next first thing that we branch out from there will be our organs, basically, and one of our organs is time. So week 3 recording that I've given you, the week 3 recording 1, 2, 3, is about creating a time schedule. It's about coming up with the project duration. So are we all very clear about resources and work breakdown, and then we create that resources, we map our work breakdown, all the different works that needs to be done with different type of resources that needs to be there for that work to be done, you see? That is the purpose of doing that. So then the rest is about practice already. I've given you enough of theory, basically, okay? Then from there, you've already got your resources. So now, why is it so important to know your resources first before you plan your time? And that actually boils down to one very important thing here, and we call it the production rate, okay? So we mentioned in order to do a schedule, production rate or productivity rate is like the essence, it's like the essence of everything, it's the essence of time management, basically, and cost management as well, in that sense, So in order to do, can't we say that, hey, doctor, why don't you teach us about cost management first? No, we can't, because a lot of things within cost has to be based on time. It has to be based on this word called duration. Okay, so what quality? Oh, I'm so clever in creating my formula. Yeah. Okay. So you see, in order to do a schedule, the first step, the question that was being asked in this attendance sheet for last week pre-recording is actually what are the steps to be taken in order to come up with a schedule. So first you have your work breakdown, then you have your resources, okay, and then you arrange your activity as much as you can into a proper sequence. And the next thing that you do is you actually do duration. You need to know every activity has a duration. It's just like, in order to cook rice, you need 10 minutes. Yeah. In order to bake a banana cake, you need to turn your oven, you need to set your timer 45 minutes. Okay, let's say that is your recipe. So your work, a lot of things in our life is based on time. So in order to travel from Kuching to Unimas, from BDC Saradise to Unimas, if no traffic, it takes about 30 minutes. It's about 20 minutes. If got traffic, maybe it's 30 minutes. So we in our life, in our work, we talk a lot about time, about duration. And in all our activities, the whole stretch of activities that you do, every single one of it takes time. It's just like some need slow cooking, some needs frying, some needs, fast, some needs slow, some will take longer, some will take shorter time. Some have to be very instant, some have to be very immediate. We have to know the duration attached to each and every one of them. And the first thing in estimating of duration is about production. We need to know every one of the activity, every one of the resources is attached to an activity. An activity has resources, and each and every one of the resources have its own production rate. Material, it takes how long to be produced in the factory. How long to be delivered to site. Okay. And if the production rate of the lorry, of the transport company is they can transport 200 pipes a day, okay, you have 1,000 pipes, so it will take them 5 days to complete the transportation of the pipe to the site. Okay, then if your site clearing, your machinery, your excavator, one of them can actually do 100 meter cube a day, or in an hour, so how many can it do in a day? So it is 8 hours a day, so it can do 800 meter cube in a day of soil, transporting away soil, or backfilling of soil and all that. So that is your production rate. Okay, so if you have the whole site have like 100,000 meter cube, so then you do your quantity. 100,000 meter cube is your quantity of work. So your production rate over your quantity of work over your production rate, then that is your duration. That will be the days that it will take to finish up that 100,000 meter cube of site clearing. Okay, then that duration, let's say, is 100 over 800. 100,000 over 800. 100,000 meter cube. Let me divide. 100,000 meter cube divided by 800 meter cube a day. You need about 125 days for one excavator to finish all the excavation work, for example. Okay, so 125 days, is that acceptable? So that one, we talk about it later, but we must have the basic production rate first, okay? We must know the basic production rate and the duration that it will take for us to fill up your whole site. So that will be the first thing that you do. You key in your normal resources range. Don't think about what can happen yet. Just think about normal. In a bubble environment, this is the normal. I need one excavator, I need 10 workers, I need whatever. So this is their production rate, and this is the duration that will be created from there. Okay, so that is the first thing. And I already explained that. The general overview, I've already explained how to do that in the pre-recording. Today is like going in depth and want you to think a bit more, okay? A bit more consideration here. So you must listen to all this very carefully, because when you do your IDP later, there are some students who listen to this lecture, and then at the end of the semester, when they're doing their IDP, they actually didn't come to me. They go to Dr. Lee and say that they are very confused with production rate. I'm like, what is it that I'm so unclear about? So they run to Dr. Lee because I'm too fierce and they don't like to talk to me, and they get her to explain production rate. And why should she do that? Because it's my job, so she has to come back to me, and I have to give another lecture on production rate again. And I am just so baffled as well. Why? Why didn't you ask questions? Why didn't you understand? In the first place, these are the essence, these are the basic things that we have to do. So if you listen to the recording, if you try it, if you do it, you should be able to do it. You should be able to understand production rate, productivity rate. They are the same thing. Okay, but they are different from schedule rate. There's a schedule rate is another story, which we will be covering in costing later. Okay, so maybe there's some confusion always come into these two things, yeah, because of the way the word rate, and then everybody starts to get, hoo-hoo-ha-ha over it. So then you did, the first thing is you will do a normal, like you go to your data sheet, resources data sheet with all your work breakdown and all your resources available. You calculate your normal required resources and then key in the production rate. And then from the production rate, you will know your gang duration to do that particular activity. See, so that duration will form the most important part of your schedule. Then from there, if you don't do anything else, after this is the basic that you must do. Yeah, this is the basic that you must do. So from this, you can start to say the start date of the project is 1st of November. So the duration of this particular activity, which happens on the 1st of November, site clearing, it will take 125 days. So you draw 1st of November plus 125 days. If you want to exclude holiday, if you want to exclude Saturday and Sunday, you can set it in your schedule. It will be more than 125 days. So you will end up taking about 5 months to complete the job. Okay, 5 months to complete the site clearance work of the 100,000 meter cube of soil. Okay, so that will be your schedule. So you draw that line, you have your first schedule. Okay, so if you have already listened to my recording last week, you will know this already. Okay, so then now what next? So you said, okay, I know my duration. Then of course you need to know the sequencing of your activities. Some things must go first, something must come next, and all that. Yeah. So some things can be parallel with one another because the activities is not kowing one another, it's not disturbing one another. You have different set of resources for different usually adjustable work and structural work can be done at the same time synchronously. So you don't have to split up like one after another. So the very important word that we have here is interdependent and parallel. Okay, so these two words is actually quite important when it comes to interdependent. Okay. So when it comes to sequencing of activity, these are the two terms that you will see a lot when it comes to sequencing activities. Okay. So interdependent means that it must finish and then before the other one start, or the other one must start first and somewhere in the middle or somewhere along the way, the other activities can start. As long there are some situations whereby it's not a full interdependence, but a semi-interdependent, meaning that after you started on that particular activity A, the other one can move in after a week or two or after a few days, So that is interdependent. And then parallel is like they are double line. They are just like two lines going on their own without affecting one another. So here, basically, for duration, you need to worry about production rate. For activities, sequencing of activities, we need to worry about these interdependencies and how interdependent they are, how important it is to be interdependent, and how they must be interdependent, or how they may be semi-interdependent, and how some of them are just basically parallel, which is really good. We love lots of parallel activity, but that will also means more usage of resources. So once you have actually arranged them in a very good sequence, you can start to draw your Gantt chart, which has a start date and an end date. Start date is always the beginning of your project, and then you key in the first activity. The first activity total is how long, and then you start to draw the line. So I think that bit is all covered in the last week's lecture. Okay, last week pre-recording 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So then my question is next. What is next? So after you draw a Gantt chart, that is your first draft, and that is not the end of it. You can submit that if you want to. If you're happy with that, if you're happy with the overall duration, the starting and the ending of the whole project, the whole duration, you're happy with it. There's nothing anybody can say about that. So you can just submit that to your client, and that will become part of your contract. So it will be a commitment. It will be a legal commitment because you've already signed a contract to complete the project within that period of time. So besides that legal commitment, it's also about reputation. It's all about whether your ability, your capability is all shown in that schedule that you've committed. Okay, so I would say put more thoughts in it. Go and do a second draft. why, how to do a second draft. So the second draft can involve what we call the factoring. We can actually have the factoring of the of the production rate. So factoring can be lowering down or upping. Okay. So this factoring here, I didn't actually put it in the notes here there, okay, but I feel like this factoring is very important. If you give your resources data sheet, you draw it out, you've already got your first set of duration, you can put a section there on factor, or a column there on factor. And what do? You need to think, okay, number one, the risk involved. Okay, that is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is just basically based on some form of previous site experience or some from previous site data. You can, for the understanding of your resources, you can actually lower down your productivity rate a little bit, or in some cases, you may want to increase your resources. Okay. So lowering down productivity rate, or upping the number or the quantity of resources. So if we just go by understanding, factoring will usually be something like we do for understanding of our resources. We work with this group of people before. We know our machineries, whether they really can do what it says it can do, or whether do you want to increase more time to it. So factoring, I wouldn't want to involve risk management first. I would say just go through your resources list in a very logical way. You have your resources data sheet. One end of the column, you have got all your work breakdown. One end, you've got all your, the second column, you've got all your productivity rate. And after your calculation of your quantity of work, you can do your duration. So on the fourth column, you've got all your duration. And now the factor, you put in a factor. And the fifth column is a factor. And that factor, what you can do is look at the resources. Number one, do they can work so fast? Or now it's a rainy season. Do you think that the machinery can do so many things? With the soil that is a bit too pumpy and all that. So you may want to lower down your productivity rate by say 10%, 20%, 30%, etc. Okay. So this is, as a project manager, you can do that. And the other way is you do not want to lower down your productivity rate. You must say they are okay, but then they're just not enough. And that is whereby you need to increase your resources. Meaning you need more gang of people, you need to put more guys working, you need to put more factors as well. Yeah. I mean, you need to put in more machineries, and you need to put in more things. Okay. So that one is upping the numbers. So instead of lowering down the productivity rate, you can increase the number. Put 2 machines. Like the case of the site clearing, 125 days. I go through it and I say that, I think my machinery better don't lower down anymore. This is quite low already. I've already given it quite a low productivity rate. So what I can do is I want to finish it within 2 months. So I think I will get another machine to come in and work. So I'll have 2 machinery that will reduce by right, that will reduce my time down to double. So meaning that 125 days divided by 2, it will be 62 days, 62.5 days. So that will be equivalent to about 2.5 months of working days. So are you happy with 2.5 months of working days? If you're still not happy with 2.5 months of working days, you still worry that you cannot fulfill that. So you may want to put your scheduled duration as 3 months. And are you allowed to do that? If you are allowed to do that, you're happy to put in 3 months, then just put in 3 months. So you've actually changed your duration manually in that sense. Yeah. So that is a thought process that you must have. So then you have a second schedule, isn't it? Your second stage is going to look much more realistic. It's going to be much more possible in that sense. And in factoring, you are also looking at maybe you're not given so much of resources. Yeah, you're not given so much of resources. That could be another factor. Okay. So from this factoring, you can actually do a manual input on the final duration. Okay, so we can do that, a manual input. And this one here is maybe you have to consider things like multiple projects. You may, as a project manager, has multiple projects, okay? And you may have 2 or 3 projects and they are using about the same resources. So would you be able to really have, that amount of resources on site all the time to complete the job? So you may have to readjust your schedule based on multiple projects purpose. So this one I will explain a little bit more as we go along into CPM and all that. So at the moment, I would say after factoring, you'll be looking at your second draft of schedule. So here you'll be you'll be looking at your second draft. Then here, we will also worry about multiple projects. Another thing that we want to really emphasize is also, maybe we can do this a bit later. Maybe we can actually include risk management. I've also mentioned that in the recording as well on risk management. The idea that, remember last week, the 30-minute recording is really the overview of how you can come up with a schedule. If you don't remember anything here, at least you remember that, because that one is the basic foundation for any engineers to go into any firm later on and they ask you to do a schedule. That is the basic, okay? So this one is more thoughts, more thoughtfulness, okay? So for risk management, we can think about what can be the risk. What is the risky situation? What are the things that could happen? And there are proper way of dealing with this, you see. It's just not about sitting here and think about what can go wrong. It's about a proper systematic way, which you will learn in risk management, how to calculate the risk and the possibilities of occurrences and the impact of it and all that, and then come up with the final factor, and that factor is another second row of factor. If this is the 5th row, so if let's say my schedule row number 1, you have your work breakdown structure. Row number 2, you have your resources. Row number 3, we have our production rate, productivity rate. Don't you find this exciting? I mean, I totally find this exciting. This is like things are coming together in that sense, into like how you actually manage a project. I find it really exciting. So row number 3 is production rate, and after that you can have your resources, including quantity quantity here. Part of it, so including quantity of work. So production rate, you use the formula. And then not row, sorry, column. How am I doing? It's column, okay. So you will get your first draft of your sequence activity. I mean, there's sequencing of activity, you're just moving your activities up and down a little bit, yeah? So then you have your factors. These are just the normal logical factors, reasonable factors. And after factoring, you will get your column number 5. 6, you may want to increase your risk management duration here as well. I mean, risk management index as well. Okay. So from this risk management index, we will explain risk management index in a little bit more detail. So for your assignment, okay, I basically need you to do up to subject 2. Okay, this is the first bit. So I wouldn't include risk management index in your assignment. I would want to see you do your resources and do your production rate, and then do your duration and do your factoring and start to have a final duration. So your column 6 will be a duration that is reasonable. That is it can be manual, it can be a selected one, and then, or it can be the one that you calculate. So you will have a 6 column. This is, I can call it column 5A lah, huh? 5A, this is your duration. This is your, I would say, final lah. I don't know how to use the word final because that would give you a wrong impression. That would be like your second draft. Okay, second draft duration. So you see, then you can start to produce your Gantt chart from here. That will be your assignment. Okay, and that will be assignment after sem break. Yeah. So from there, from the Gantt chart, you will also do a CPM diagram later on. So I will explain that. I will give up the assignment this week, so you can take a look. Okay. So after this, you can go and do your risk management, like calculation of impact. Risk management is about looking into what could happen, what are the bad things that can happen to that particular activity. It can be affected by weather, manpower, it can be affected by supply of materials, it can be affected by river flow, environmental issues, can be affected by a lot of things, a lot of areas that can create a delay in project. And will that happen in your activities? And if it happens, what will be the impact? And then from the impact and occurrence, or probability of occurrence, we will calculate what we call an index, and that index will tell us exactly how much to increase your schedule or to do something about that risk. Okay, and that may not be translated into Gantt chart, but it can be translated into the usage of your resources and all that as well. You see. So this risk management index, what are the risks, and then what are the occurrences, probability of occurrences, and the impact, and then this will produce a risk index. And this index is like saying that if this risk is in a very red zone, what do you do about that? So there's a way of trying to increase the schedule. Increasing the schedule is only one way of managing it, but there will be things like managing the resources sense so that you don't affect the schedule. So in a way, your second draft is actually not too bad already. It's actually quite good already, because by the time we do risk management, we hardly want to increase more time again. If we do too much of prolonging of schedule, of course, it's a good schedule, but it may not be practical in that sense that, it may not improve on the final productivity. That you, instead of finishing a project, everybody is doing the project, this sort of project in 18 months, and they can finish it nicely. But because you keep on thinking about risk and all that, you end up finishing the project in 24, 36 months. You're not about your risk. So risk management is there to understand the risk profile of the project, and from the risk profile, you're trying to create our main aim and our main goal will not be prolonging the schedule, but to actually manage the risk, to manage the final resources. If no choice, we manage the risk by increasing the time. So prolonging time is not the ultimate things that you want to achieve here when it comes to risk management. Okay. Then of course, finally, we will input the manual input of the final projects, and then of course that is whether we need to consider whether we we are doing multiple project management here or not. That is another thing that we are looking at. Okay, so I mean, I hope this is really, really clear for everybody. And this is essentially like a third draft sort of things, you see. So highlighted in green is something that you'll be using that for your assignment later on. Any questions so far? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, any questions so far? Do you understand how do you produce a schedule? So basically in your attendance sheet, all I need is just for you to say, okay, first step is to create work breakdown, second step is to do resources, third step is to do a calculation of duration, third step is to do activity sequencing, and then after that, fifth step is to do the schedule. That is the basic that I've gone last week. Okay, so it's based on last week recording. I'm not expecting you to write all these things. These are actually more in depth of how you actually look into a schedule from different perspectives. As a project manager, we do want to have more in-depth thoughts, as we move into doing a project. See. Quiet? Or am I already offline that I don't even know? Huh? Okay. I'll see anything in the chat group. Nothing. Okay. All right. No questions, really? Am I that clear? So you're not going to come running back to me when you're doing your scheduling later and say, doctor, I don't know how to do production rate calculation. I will murder somebody if that happens. Let me show you the assignment, okay? It's already fourth week. It's time to show you the assignment. Okay, though. Yeah. Okay, so assignment, this is a 15% of the continuous assessment. So you're going to be breaking down into a group of two. And I need you to I need you to do a chart and a critical path analysis. So we will move into critical path analysis very soon by next week. In fact, today I'll probably just take another 10 minutes to actually give you a bit of background on what is critical path analysis. And then Thursday, Dr. Lee will come in and actually do a schedule with you using Microsoft Project. So we will officially finish with scheduling, like coming up with a schedule by this Thursday. And next week onwards, we'll be fully concentrating. Next week onward, please bring your brain with you whenever you come to class. Don't sit on it, don't sleep on it. Just have to bring it and put it up on your head and really listen, okay? And because CPM is part of exam, CPM is calculation, CPM is very easy to score, but a lot of people don't get it because they end up not they end up unable to do it because they don't really understand the basic foundation. And it's very tedious, it's very small things, there's a lot of little things involved and makes you find it very hard. But actually it is not hard. And I'll explain it over 2 class next week completely. And Thursday, like I said, this week Thursday, Dr. Lee will show you a Microsoft project. You know, if you have Microsoft project, if you have the, version, so try to, actually it's available in our lab. So if you can contact our technician, let me see. I'm not sure whether you can actually just get the code or something from the technician. I have to email them and ask, yeah, let me email them and ask if I can get it. I will pass it on to everybody. I'll get Dr. Lee to pass it to you on Thursday. So what you can do is you can actually have some of you probably have it on your computer already. So as Dr. Lee is doing it, I hope that you are going to be, she's going to do a demo with you. It's not going to be a hands-on class, basically. Guys, honestly, when me and Dr. Lee, if JKR or, 2 years back when we're giving a talk about this work breakdown, duration, analysis, and all that, basically the cheapest that you have to pay to attend that 1 day course is 500 ringgit, So now at the moment in the class, we are giving you exactly the same thing as what we are giving to them, you see. If JKR wants to get me to go and give a talk on this, they are going to pay me like 1 hour, 200 ringgit, and then that is divided with amount of students, and they will end up paying like 600-700 or even 800 for the course, Gantt charts, Microsoft projects and all that. And Primavera courses, 3 days. 3 days of Primavera courses to get a certificate from that particular company is about 8,000. So, I mean, these are all part and parcel of your education in Unimas at the moment. So just make sure that you get as much knowledge as you can. What I'm trying to say that don't waste your time and don't waste money like that, So yeah, please be alert. So assignment-wise, you need to pick a project. If you can do that with your IDP project if you want to. But IDP project is shared by 4 people, so 4 or 5 people in a group. So it's a bit difficult to use fully. Everybody use IDP project. This is a pair work kind of project. For what you can do is with the IDP project, some of you probably have terrace houses and also semi-detached houses. So what you can do is with one IDP project, you decide among yourself who is to do which like terrace houses with, or who is to do the shop block with. So you can take it break it into 2 or 3 projects, because pair work basically means that there will be one IDP project can be shared by two or 3 groups of people. Okay, so yeah, please by all means use your IDP project. That will help to lighten your load later on for your IDP. Okay, so what you can do is you carry out with that. What I mean by major level or major layer is all together you must have 12 major activities, meaning from the general activities onwards you must have about 12. Then after that you break it down into smaller sections, okay, smaller layers, like 2 or 3 layers smaller, and then overall you have 12, and then you carry out your work breakdown, you break it down, and then you do what you do, like what I did, what I show you just now in this particular notes here. Okay, so you do your work breakdown, you do your resources, and then you do your production rate, and then you do your duration. So then I'm only expecting up to this duration. Okay, column number 4. If you don't do the factoring, that's fine. I would say base up to column number 4. So at least you've got an idea of how to do your Gantt chart. So then after that, we will use that information that you get from the Gantt chart. You will use that for CPM. Okay, so the due date for this particular assignment will be on 30th of November, which is the end of your break week. I think so, yeah. End of your break week. Okay. So It's 15% of your overall marks. You have to do it in a report format and type it up and all that. So all students will hand in their individual copy. Let me see how to do this. Mm, because it's pair work, even though you do individual copy, I'm worried that I will miss out on the other copy. You see, so I think it should be all right on my end. Previously, I get what they do is one person hand in a full copy, the other person hand in the cover sheet. So I know that you belong to the other person's group, you see. So that could be one way of doing it. Which one do you prefer? But there are some people who has problem because their groupmate forgot to hand in, you see. So if you have a groupmate like that, then you may want to hand in your own individual. What do you think? Which is a better mode? Huh? See, assignment no mode already, is it?
The third thing,
Yeah.
I think that both individual copies and one person hand in is also can. But you know, Elite there, I think you can create a group if you want, and then if one person hand in, the group mate automatically check as well.
Oh, I can do that, is it?
I think yes, because for other course like a big group lah, we have 4 person and then one person hand in, the other 4 person we got the green light from the submission box, even though we didn't hand in lah. And the
But
file is
do I
there
need
also.
to I need to go and like create a group for users or how? Or meaning that when you click hand in, you also need to click like who else is in your group.
No, I guess that how they do it is they create a grouping first, like in a link there, and there is a selection of grouping, like how many people, and then group one until group one, and then they join
But
that group first.
I have but that means I have to know your grouping first, correct?
No, we can enroll in ourselves. We just need to create the capacity for it.
Ah, okay. Can I will ask Leonard, he's probably the best person to in terms of
Then you
your
can refer to the elite as well after during your marking bar. You can just look at the groups at the elite.
okay. Can. If that is possible, then I'll do that. And if even better, I've been wondering like how on earth to do this. So I've been trying quite a lot of methods for the past 2 sem, and sometimes it gets really confusing for myself, that whether I mark this person or not. So I have to have super good memory when I mark. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that
Maybe you
that
can try to figure that one. I think there's definitely an option like that lah. We seen
yeah,
it in other courses.
I've already created capacities there saying that, if you guys hand in, you have to hand in like air work. So when one guy hand in, you have to click into this person's name, something like that.
Pardon?
It's okay. I'll try to figure it out. So meaning that likely is I can create something that is a like pair kind of thing, and then you all have to sort of enroll yourself into that pair lah, right?
Yeah. Do you know how it looks like, or you want me to like share screen for a while and then show you how does it look like?
Can you can show me?
Okay.
Or I share my screen.
Okay, the thing, can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, here like group registration kan. Inside it
Okay.
looks like this. But I don't know exactly how do you create it because I'm not
Yeah.
have yeah. And then this one you can set it to 2. So we can enroll from here if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's a
But you
enrollment,
only need to
but
enroll when you want to submit your assignment, correct?
yeah, I think when we submit our assignment, we can see it like this, our IDP.
Mm.
We have the group meeting. Well, this one was not submitted by me. This one submitted by my group leaders, and all of us can see this. So
Okay,
that is the function of that.
yeah, I can ask the result of the Leonard on this one. Can. That's a good idea. I will, yeah, yes,
Okay.
I'll try to do that first. So let me figure it out. So you all have to go and worry about your assignment first. Get it done. That is your job. Okay. So
Okay.
you basically until 30th of this month you will have one whole month to do this. Okay.
Right.
Friday. So any questions on the class just now? Anything that you want to ask me? Anything that you're unsure of about production rate, about factoring, about sequencing, and all that? If you can think about it, okay, I will move on to the next section here. So this part here, I will save it and I'll post it up later for you. I'll off this. And then Simon, I will also post it up in a while later on during. And yeah, this is what we covered last week with you all. Okay. So basically, these are the basic of what we have gone through. This is like an overview by basic guidelines. So to fill the attendance sheet, you need to fill up. Oh, I'm not me sharing my screen. I'm not. Why am I pointing?
No. haven't shared.
Okay. Right. So basically, this is the notes that we had last week. So you need to fill up this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this is, like producing schedule. So this is the 5 things that you need to write down for your attendance sheet, and it will be due by today, I think. So you better get it done if you haven't done it. Otherwise your attendance that the first attendance sheet only 80 people has filled up. So that is a very bad attendance level. So there's 30 plus people missing for that particular. I have assumed that they don't listen to the recording, you see. So that would mean have all listened to this recording, the recording 1, 2, 3. Most of you have. Okay, so if you have, then you will fill up the attendance. So please do so. So for way you know that you're because in ELIC, I go week by week. Recording, pre-recording is kind of usually Tuesday on to face. That will be one recording for the whole class. That one is to choose to re-listen or that is up to you. Recording that is the one with the 1, 2, pre-recorded. You don't have classes but have pre-recorded. That one you must listen and answer the attendance sheet. Okay, so that is how we have been running. And we've been doing this one. Okay, and today's last week here, I will just quickly run through it so that we set some background for next week's CPM class. Like I said, this week Dr. Lee will show you the demo on how to do the Gantt chart on Microsoft project. So I've already given you all the basic background. So what she will do to you is just the end product, like how it will overall look like at the end of the day. Yeah, using a software. Yeah. So this, and in software, basically we've got Microsoft Project and Primavera. Previous years we've got them to come and give a talk and to show you how does Primavera look like. But Primavera is very complicated to me, actually, very, very complicated. But some people like it, and some organization like Sarawak Energy will use it. So if you work for Sarawak Energy, you probably need to know later on, need to learn Primavera. But the concept of it is all based on something like what we have done here. But I've learned Primavera, it's like, it was like a horrid thing, It's just like so many functions, so many little things, that is probably to achieve the same thing, I'll probably be faster if I do manual, that kind of thing. But somehow at the end of the day, when you set in everything, it's very nice to present it, I suppose. Yeah? And besides doing Gantt chart, okay, Gantt chart is like, it will show you the duration, it will show you the activities, it will show you the lines. It's a very easy way to read duration and the overall project milestone and the project duration. And it will show you the relationship between each and every one of the activities as well. So it's actually quite a nice way. It's always the most simple, nice, and very straightforward way of presenting your duration, your overall schedule to your audiences and to yourself, for you to remind yourself and all that. So it's a very good way of learning. A lot of technology coming to help us, like Microsoft Primavera, and then Beam, and so a lot of other techniques that comes in to actually help you to remind. You can set your alarm, you can set your you can set your critical technology to help us to manage our schedule, to monitor and to look after our schedule. And of course, site progress come back and we want to sort of like manage our schedule. All this will actually make difference in monitoring and all that. It will help with monitoring of the schedule, because it's like no point of planning all these things, and then at the end of the day, you don't really get to monitor it. At the end of the day, it's about monitoring your schedule. So we talk about performance. So let's talk about coming up with. So now, what activities shown in that relation is all shown in a picture format, you see. And this picture format, we can do it in what we call activity on the node. So these two, AOA and AON, are the network. And building and draw my schedule in pictorial format, I'll be crazy, knock myself on the wall and faint for the next 6 months or something. That will be the easiest way out, you see, or go and get myself COVID or something. So usually for us, when we talk about pictorial format, just circles and lines, okay, circles and arrows, and that is the best I can do in terms of drawings. See, so drawings use is only all you need is that. Okay, so analysis, we'll be able to, it will look like this, okay, arrow and line. This is the basic of your network. And in activity node itself, we will have our activity here. This will be presented by the activity. And this activity, within the activity, you will have our duration, we will have our earliest start, latest start, earliest finish date. And then our arrow is just basically something finish and then something will go to the next thing. So that is an indication of the relationship. But if this is the picture that you are seeing here on the screen, is actually activity on the arrow. You see, so activity is here. So it means activity, construction of the piles, piling work. So then the event is, my piling work finished. The next work will start next. You see? So that is what we mean by network. So the network is two format. Activity on the node will be the activity construction of the piles, which is represented by that circle. And then the arrow will be just the event. If is you are drawing an activity on an arrow, okay, you will be doing what we call AOA, activity on arrow. So arrow diagramming method, ADM. Okay, TDM, precedence diagramming, is actually activity of we will go by the major layers. If you have 12 major layers or 13 or 20 or 50 major layers, you draw that in your network. And the hardest bit, of course, is to come up with the network. You need to know the sequencing, you need to know whether they're parallel, you need to know one must start after another. All these things you must be very clear before you can proceed to draw your network. And without coming up with that network, without drawing that network, ladies and gentlemen, you can't get anywhere. You can't do CPM, okay? So we must know how to draw that network. Okay? Before you know how to draw the network, you must know the overall activities, like how they are flowing, their whole system about how one must be another, which one will affect the other one. Think about that. Once you get your diagram out, all your network out, things will look very clean. It should look very clean. It should look very easy, and then you will not have a hard time doing it once you know the principle of the calculation. The formula that's wrong, you know, beams or this other thing, you know, it's not that difficult. It is just very straightforward. So basically, it's at network base. So what we do is we will introduce you to the network today. I want to show you what is network first, okay? So from the network, we will move into critical path method. Let's not talk about critical path method. So this is what your network will look like. There will be some sequential activity, means that C can only start after A. That is sequential. Parallel means C and D are parallel, E and F are parallel, A and B are parallel, okay? So some may have predecessors and no successors, and some have successors, no predecessors, meaning that there are some activities that they will not have something behind it. That's something that we must do first before it starts. Some have predecessors but no successor, means that will be the end of it. That it will stop at that point. Okay, and a lot of activity will have successor and predecessor. So these are the keywords: successor, predecessors. You know, preceding activities, succeeding activity. There are some that don't do, so there are something to do and for that. Yeah. So I will attach some other notes with it to talk about that, to talk about how to draw the network. So I don't want to go into much detail today. I think to get you started, to get you to feel that besides drawing Gantt chart, there's another way of presenting your activities that is through a network. And then you must draw the network out, and there are rules that is pertaining to how to draw the network. There are wordings, there are terminologies to network, and how network will look like in terms of PDM and ADM. And you only need to know this, okay? And then when we come back on Tuesday next week, after the lead teach you how to draw the Gantt chart, then we will move in and teach you how to draw the network and then how to analyze the network. So after you have analyzed the network, we will give you more examples, more exercise to do with more complicated network. And then by the end of week 5, you should be able to do critical path analysis. Okay? And worst come to worst, beginning of week 6, we will still revising the cost management. Okay? On the 7th week, we will have a speaker to talk to you about cost management, BQs, and all that from the industry perspective. I invited my good friend to come and give you a talk on that. And from the way this is going, will be on the Thursday before your sem break. And then after sem break, we come back, we will have a test already. Okay, so this is how we will be running through the next few weeks. Okay. If there's no questions, I will go and do your attendance first. And while you think about if there's anything you want to ask me. Group 1, you can start shooting away. Group 2, and can you all message your friends that we're attendance now? Don't say that you're still in the toilet, can come out of the toilet now,
Doctor,
Yeah.
for clarification, for the assignment, the pair assignment, do we need to choose the group mate from the same IDP group or just anyone within the civil class?
It should be within your this M class lah.
Okay, okay. So as long as in within our class, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's within your class, yeah. So yeah, you guys understand is you can use the IDP project, but your IDP member must be in the PM class. There's no point of getting them who is not in the they won't want to do this. Okay, group 3. Okay, I'm going back to group 1 now. For those of you who hasn't had the chance to shoot your attendances now. Okay, group 2. Anyone else who hasn't used your phone to click the attendance? Group 3, anyone in group 3? Okay, no more, I off this. And now for people who are needing manual attendance, let's go for group 3 first. Group 3, anybody needs manual attendance? Nobody, okay, nobody. Yes. Group 1, anyone needs manual attendance in group 1 for today?
Doctor, I need to do manual attendance.
Who?
6730.
Farah Haida, is it?
Ah.
Who else?
Thank you, Doctor.
Who else? Hey, don't go and type in the chat box, everybody. I can't see the chat box from where I am now. No more, Anyone else? No?
Group 2, Doctor.
Huh? Group
Group
2,
two.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to group 2 now. Group 2, who?
Muhammad Fahim.
Sorry?
Muhammad Fahim.
Mama Sahih, you're not, Group
Muhammad
the
Fahim.
name is not here. Muhammad
64936.
Fahim. Okay, okay.
Number 1, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ahmad Hanif. Doctor. 65260.
Any more?
Ahmad,
So, you know,
Ahmad Hanif. Okay, thank you. Doctor.
Ahmad Hanif already? No more. Anyone else from group 1? I give you one last chance, huh? I open one more time. Group 1, group 2, group 3. Anyone else not having need manual attendance? Well, a lot of people absent, no? Lukman, Intan, Farahana, Shane, Siddiq. Yeah?
Dr. Ting, I see Siddiq in the chat box.
Oh, you see Siddiq in the chat box, huh? I told people not to put in the chat box because I can't see the chat box. Okay, it's kind of me to mention it for him. Okay, so Siddiq, you better go and thank Alan, huh? Otherwise, I won't be keying in your things. Okay, no more, huh? Okay, now I unshare. Then I can see the chat box. Okay, so Siddiq, can you please next time open your mouth and get, to tell us that you are, because I can't see chat box, during the sharing sessions, So if you really cannot talk, then you can message some of your friends to ask them to help you to talk, You hear me or not? Siddiq? Wow, really gone already, is it?
Maybe his mic is broken. I don't know.
Yeah, but just now he still can type. Now he didn't even type anymore. Next time we should just ignore people who are not doing it. Meaning that they are not even here in the class, just coming for attendance. Okay, never mind. No more questions. Anything Leonard Abbas, you key in already, right?
Yeah, already, Doctor. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right. Okay. Okay, look. I think we're done, and that's it for today. Good day, everybody. I'll post up the recording later and the notes, huh? Assignment also. So get started, and then reminder again the chat, the chat list. Sorry, the attendance sheet for last week.
Dr. Ting,
Huh?
I think I find one of the tutorial for grouping that I mentioned just now, and then I send it to Chat Aina already. Maybe I think she'll forward to you. You can take a look at the official tutorial for the grouping of edit.
Okay. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Yeah. So you get Anna to forward to me, lah.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day, everybody.